All right. I want to welcome everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers. Final day, STN EXPO Virtual. We're here. I'm Tony Corbin, the publisher and president of STN. And here we are, the School Transportation Nation podcast. It's brought to you by TransFinder, the leader in school bus routing software, and our friends at Zonar, a leader in smart fleet management. I have a co host, Miss Taylor Hannon. Welcome. I know Mr. Ryan Gray.
Hello.
He is wrapping up a getting green to go green session, so he'll probably be joining us here in a short second. But that's the joy of being live, right, Taylor?
Yeah, I was watching his session and it was pretty interesting. He was talking about funding for propane buses, how they're running, and kind of talking through all that. So I know it's a good conversation over there. I'm sure they're having some fun.
Always, always. Well, you know what? We had some great sessions today. We kicked it off. We had Carlos Chicas from Capistrano Unified School District talking about post-pandemic safety. Ryan and Carlos went into some detail there, and it's interesting because it varies from state to state. But I think everybody is dealing with similar challenges. How do we reopen schools safely? And some are open, some are not. It's kind of a hybrid situation right now for many people. But, there are a lot of strategies that you can employ as a manager to kind of consider what your options are. And again, families are being more forgiving than ever with the situation, and they understand what you're facing in transportation, and they want their kids to go back to school. That is a top priority. And Taylor, what were some of your big takeaways today from the sessions that you saw?
Yeah, I think that one with the pandemic and kind of talking about post COVID-19, it's kind of taking what are some of the best practices that are going to be taken now post the pandemic. And I think the hand sanitizer, I've been hearing that a lot, whether your state allows hand sanitizer or not. A lot of districts have put that dispenser right there and kids hand sanitize. They walk up on the school bus. That seems like that's going to be here to stay. But there was a lot of good conversations. I was in one talking about the air filtration devices that are in school buses now that can be added, and they basically are filtering the air throughout the school bus. So that's another great example. And they were saying that they do see it staying past COVID-19 because of the flu season. And it just makes the school bus that much cleaner of an environment.
Yeah, what's interesting about that air filtration technology is that that school district in Alabama, and Ryan just jumped on. He can probably chime in on that. That school district spoke up and said that they basically had that whole project paid for by CARES Act money. 24
Mm-hmm.
school buses with HEPA filters, and they had, I believe, two on each vehicle. If they didn't have air conditioning, they needed two
Yeah.
units versus one unit. But that significantly impacted the quality of air, and that the whole state of Alabama is going through a lot of RFP and information about trying to access this new type of health technology. And that's what I'm going to call it, health technology, right? It's this whole advent of sanitizers, cleaners, air filtration, barrier systems. It's just, there's so many different interesting things that have presented themselves that all potentially have long-term applications. So I'm excited to see kind of post-pandemic, where do we go from here as an industry, and what things stick, and can that CARES Act money really carry us through to get some of these really great technologies implemented for the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry for being a little bit late there, but yeah, you're absolutely right, Tony. There are, and we've written about this, we've talked about this on previous podcasts, that there have been lessons learned from this pandemic and solutions that have been implemented. That it's kind of like, why haven't we always been doing this? Ventilation on school buses has always been an issue. Earlier this morning, we were actually talking about post-pandemic safety on and around the school bus, and I had Carlos Chicas on with me from Capistrano Unified School District in Southern California. And we were talking about the larger issue of hygiene on school buses. And he said one thing that they've really learned is, having improved hygiene, especially for these kids on these buses and for the benefit of the driver, it's a good thing. And, when you're talking about something like ventilation systems, that makes a lot of sense, especially when you consider the unintended consequences that can be introduced into the school bus environment of all these cleaning agents and disinfectants. We don't know the long-term effect of some of this stuff. And granted, there's a lot of, you should be only using disinfectants that are EPA certified to kill viruses and have certain dwell times that are appropriate and safe to be used around children. But we don't know what we don't know. So we have some interesting editorial in the works for the March issue of the magazine where we're going to address this. And, there's also the anxieties we've talked about over and over again from manufacturers and suppliers about what these agents do to equipment. We were talking about, with Carlos earlier, he's in a seatbelt state here in California. And what do these agents and solvents do to the belt buckle? And there's plastic pieces inside that can degrade and break. And what does that do to crash worthiness of the school bus? So, certainly, ventilation systems and other things, hand sanitizer for students, things that maybe we should have always been doing on school buses, but the pandemic has really forced us to think differently and think out of the box and implement these new things.
Yeah, Ryan, I want to kind of bring up a tech tip from our partner Zonar, a leader in smart fleet management. 2020 was rough, but you still rose to the occasion and you're still finding ways to move forward. But this year is going to have its own challenges. Zonar COO Michael Gould recently shared about how technology can help your fleet transition to the new normal as efficiently and safely as possible here at STN Expo. If you missed it, watch a recording at stnexpovirtual.com. You can also visit zonarsystems.com/STN Expo to get more information. We'd love to talk a little more about some of the big changes in tech anyway. I mean, Ryan, I sat in on some great sessions this week, and a big thing I heard was 3G being sunsetted. No more 3G devices. That means if you're running GPS or you have an older GPS device, it will stop working. And that is the transition to 4G and 5G that's occurring. And, if you haven't considered it or you're not looking at it, it's time to really dive into, hey, I need to upgrade my technology game because, frankly, your technology is not going to stop working if you don't. So very interesting to hear that.
That's in the next year, correct?
Correct. I believe it's in early 2022, maybe March of 22. But from what I gathered from the presentations today, Tyler Technologies spoke about it, and their presentation is that, it's going to be throttling down, so things might start to get slower. That's kind of like your iPhone, right? My dad called me last night and was like, "Hey, son, I'm upgrading from my iPhone 5. I was like, 5? You have a 5? That still works? Like, he's like, I just went to a 12. I was like, it's like a whole new world for him with an iPhone 12 versus the iPhone 5, right? Like, I'm surprised it still worked. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. People are going to hold on to that technology until you're forced to upgrade. And this is a forced upgrade that needs to take place. So if you haven't considered it, you're not budgeting for it, you need to talk to your technology provider. And I'm sure our friends at Zonar, TransFinder, they would love to talk to you about what you can do to up your technology game.
Yeah, absolutely. Just one of the many things that fleet managers and fleet directors are always looking at how to make the best decision. And Tony, you had a conversation earlier this week with Greg Jackson at Jeffco Public Schools in the Denver area about essentially a lot of that of decision making when it comes to implementing technology during a pandemic. What were some of the things that jumped out at you from that conversation?
Yeah, Greg's an interesting guy. So Jeffco is in Colorado. Greg's one of the larger school districts. He's got, I think he said about 432 school buses. So that's a fairly sizable fleet. And, he's got a team around him. I say it takes a village to manage all the technology he has. But, he talked a lot about integrating his IT team, integrating different stakeholders in the decision-making process. And what I found very interesting is, as transportation professionals, you guys budget so tightly your technology and everything that you do. And here it comes around the bend. He's talking about having budget leftovers or remnant budget to potentially accelerate different projects, like his video camera upgrades that he was talking a lot about, transitioning to new video security equipment when once that older equipment had kind of sunsetted. But he also mentioned that he was getting brand new buses. He had about $2.1 million in capital budget for new bus replacement, which he was going to use and then upgrade his equipment. Instead of transferring old equipment to the new buses, he was just getting all new equipment. So very interesting to hear from him on some of his strategies, as well as looking at student information, looking at security, looking at, what does hacking look like for student information, how to keep that safe. Also, he brought up one big thing: tablets. He is integrating tablets on all his buses. And that is going to be a game changer for him and how he manages. But another factor of that was the funding. Where did he get the money? He talked about Medicaid reimbursement being a big element of that. Where to find money and how to pay for some of these projects through reimbursement. And again, he's a kind of expense-driven district, like many are. And you face that use it or lose it. If you've got remnant budget, you don't want it to go to waste. You want to try to use it for projects that you have that are ongoing, or maybe some new technology that you may want to integrate and invest in the interim. But it had to be used by the end of June. So there is that window that many people are probably thinking about as they look at budget, look at that forward budgeting, and kind of what is that remnant budget or leftovers. Some have it, some don't. So it's interesting to hear the feedback, especially from a district like his that runs a very sophisticated operation with a lot of moving pieces and parts. So very interesting stuff.
Absolutely. Hey, Taylor, wanted to, and you might have touched upon a little bit on this a little bit earlier, but what was the big thing that really stood out to you over this past week and in all the sessions that you were in?
Well, today I was talking. Yeah, there's so much.
There's a lot. Yeah,
I know.
Ton.
I know, and I feel like I'm still learning too. So I'm taking all this information in. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. But I was really impressed with the air ventilation systems. I thought those were so cool. I think it also gives that peace of mind to not only the school bus drivers, but the parents that are putting their students on these buses. And I think that's what it's all about, is just creating this peace of mind, this culture that, school districts are taking the safety precautions. School buses are taking those measures, and they're doing everything they can to keep everyone safe. And I think that's what this industry has really shown, is that, coming to these conferences and sharing their knowledge, everyone's just trying to do the best they can for these kids, to transport these kids safely. And that's really just what stood out to me, is just how important this really is, and how technology can help you get there, right? I grew up with technology, so it's a little different for me because I see it as a necessity, and I don't know how people managed before without it, but I just think it's amazing.
Excellent. Well, hey, you know what, Taylor? One great thing about technology is we have lots of partners that do that, and our friends at TransFinder were so excited to announce at the STN EXPO Virtual Conference its agreement to partner with Zonar on the GPS solutions. And TransFinder is now an official reseller of Zonar technology. And you may have heard the interview yesterday with TransFinder CEO Antonio Civitella, Zonar CEO Michael Gould. They were also on our podcast on Mondays, which you can go back and check that out. And they definitely really laid out a great plan of working together. It was kind of like a Sonny and Cher, Batman and Robin, right? Super exciting stuff. So if you guys might be interested in learning more about TransFinders, Wayfinders, Stop Finder, Geo Alerts, GPS, TransFinder can streamline the whole process from one point of contact. You can touch base with them at marketing@transfinder.com. It's also, you can call them at 800-373-3609 to learn more about that Zonar agreement and also about Wayfinder and Stop Finder. They're really excited to talk to you. So definitely check that out. And then Ryan, what were kind of maybe some big things you got from Mr. Ryan Avery, our keynote? You know, he always gives us these awesome pearls of wisdom. I feel like, you know, he is just a transformational guy. If you listen to him, your mind's blown every time. Oh, I think Ryan
I sent an email to him a little bit earlier today about really being able to get some great nuggets from him, where he just always delivers, and he always wows, and I really got that from the attendees. I saw that all week. I did miss the first part of his talk because I was with some speakers getting prepared for a couple of sessions. But what I did catch was, really that you have to keep innovating with yourself, and don't take no for an answer. Listen to yourself, listen to, hearken on your strengths, and you're gonna make the people around you stronger. Always looking forward to Ryan speaking to our group. Hopefully we can get him to a live event again soon. That'd be great. And speaking of live events, I know that we are planning to have the live events come up this summer. But Tony, we have a couple of additional events now that we are closing the books on STN EXPO Virtual. The learning opportunities just don't stop. What do we got coming up here in about a month or two's time? We have some special opportunities for folks.
Yeah, definitely. So if you are a transportation director, assistant director, someone who's a decision maker, shot caller, we want to invite you to our Transportation Director Summit. We are going to be hosting March 29th and 30th. We'll have more details up. You can check it out at tdsummit.com. You can also go to the STN Online website and click on events, and you'll find Transportation Director Summit. But tdsummit.com. We'll be doing leadership training, matching you up with different supplier partners, trying to create one-on-one matches to help you find the right partner for the different solutions that you're searching for, help provide a bunch of leadership training as well, real focused with a group of peers. We're going to try to keep it real intimate, 50 to 100 directors, and really make it a special event. It's free as long as you're a decision maker. So I want to invite anybody who would like to participate to go to that tdsummit.com website and apply. Also, we've got Green Bus Summit, which is April 20th, 21st, and 22nd. And April 22nd also happens to be Earth Day. So what better time to host a Green Bus Summit? So that event is going to be all about alternative energy, all about what you can do, infrastructure. I know we've touched on it a few sessions. The closing session today, finding the green to go green. So definitely, if you want a focused event all about alternative energy, that is the place to be, greenbussummit.com to find out more information. And Ryan, we have some drawing winners today from our chat, because again, like I said, you think they're here to hear from us, but they really want that $100. So we have our first winner, Rita Schneider, field trip coordinator at Salem Kaiser Transportation up there in Oregon. Congratulations, $100 gift card. And we also have Jason Sampson, the director of transportation at Nevada CSD. So congratulations to you both, $100 Amazon gift cards for your participation in our chat. We appreciate that. The chat had so much good action today, so much interaction. And that's what really makes virtual conferences thrive, is that peer-to-peer sharing. They love being able to connect with people. Everybody may be a little shy to get on camera still, but they love to chat in that chat box. So we appreciate you guys chiming in and telling us where you're from and how much you enjoyed it. Be sure and drop something in the chat right now as we're on the podcast. Tell us how much you love the podcast, and don't forget to review us as well. We love hearing that. And Ryan, any kind of closing thoughts before we close out the podcast for the day? And Taylor, I'd love to hear from you as well. We'll kick off with Ryan first, though.
Yeah, well, I think it's the willingness to learn and interact. That's what I keep seeing come through with these virtual conferences. Everyone is just happy to be here. It's tough. We're juggling work. People are logging in from their office or their home office. Technology sometimes kind of nips you in the rear there a little bit in terms of firewalls and trying to access sites and sessions. But everyone is just they're so motivated to be better and become better, make their people better. It's just like they're like sponges out there. It's just you can literally feel the absorption of information out there. So that's something that energizes me. We put together these conferences. It takes so much time. We are used to the in-person environment where we have months and months of lead time. Sometimes almost a full year as we're putting together the agenda and the speakers and working with the hotels and the convention centers and whatnot. And these online virtual events, I mean, they come together in a matter of like a month or two. And it's really, forced us to stretch. And I think it's made us, a better organization, a better team for it. And I think that the same is said for all of our districts and our companies out there. This whole, COVID-19 pandemic has really made us stretch and become better and innovate. Because if we don't innovate, we stagnate. That was one of the things, Brian Avery put it a lot more aptly, a lot better the other day. But we either stand still and die on the vine, or we keep plugging forward. We don't have all the answers, but the best we can do is plan and motivate and inspire, and good things will happen. Taylor, what about you? What did you?
Yeah. I think I'm going to take a similar approach here and steal from Ryan Avery as well. And just the ability to adapt. I think just moving on our feet, people in the industry, and just being able to provide that level of service and continue to provide that level of service, whether it's been meals, whether it's been, delivery of supplies, there are so many options out there. And so having this platform for people to come together and speak about what they're doing and how this worked, but this didn't work, I think it's just so important. And I know we all want to get back to live events and to being in person, and we all want schools back in person. And I think it's just going to take time, and it's going to take innovating, and it's going to take thinking on our feet and getting it done, just not being scared. And I think that was Ryan Avery's kind of thought process, is just, okay, how can you be fluid? How can you move with the situation and not be flat-footed when the wave hits you?
Yeah, what I took away was, from today, don't be bitter, be better.
Better.
Right? You can be bitter with 2020. There's a lot to be bitter about with 2020, right? You can hold on to that, or you can be better and you can move on and you can thrive. And I think that's an amazing perspective. So hold on to that. Don't be bitter, be better. And another thing Ryan said that really I grabbed onto is said, words are free, but they cost you a lot. Let that sink in. Words are free, but they cost you a lot. It's so powerful when you just take something so simple as that and you apply it in your personal life, in your business, whatever you're doing, who you manage, the people you work with. And I think you want to care about the people you work with and you want that to come through. So, I'll leave you guys with that thought. Really great stuff, Ryan. Team at STN, we appreciate you guys. You did a phenomenal job. Our events team, round of applause for everybody. Thank you to all our attendees. Hey, Mr. Kent, that's the man
to
behind
the news
the
desk.
scenes. Yes, the news desk. Everything is it's just been so seamless, and it takes a village to pull this off. And as Ryan said, we put ourselves through a lot to try to bring everybody really great content. And there's so many people you don't see behind the scenes that really make the magic happen. And I want to give all my team the greatest compliment ever that we have been through now 3 virtual conferences together. And it's just, I appreciate everyone. And I think everybody's hard work comes through and the quality of the content, quality of the presentation. We really are doing our best to support our industry, support you guys. And we love you, School Transportation Nation, and we couldn't do it without you. And our vendor partners, I really want to call out our vendor partners, the sponsors of STN EXPO Virtual, Zonar, our title sponsor, our diamond sponsors, REI, TransFinder, and Tyler Technologies. Thank you so much. And as well as all of our other sponsors that have participated, please reach out to the sponsors. If you're interested in any of the products or services that you saw at STN EXPO Virtual, they would love to hear from you. They're always trying to validate their investment with us. So if you're buying from them, they're buying from us. So thank you for that. We appreciate that. It's always a good thing. And this was the inaugural STN EXPO Virtual. Hopefully it's our last STN EXPO Virtual. We hopefully are seeing you live in the summer. You never know. We're gonna pivot. We're gonna adapt to the situation, whatever life throws us. So we really enjoyed being here with you. It was just really great to see actionable insights, inspirational moments, and I inspire you to adapt and be better in 2021. And this live podcast is brought to you by TransFinder and Zonar, and we appreciate them as sponsors as well. And you can see all our live podcast presentations at stnpodcast.com. Don't forget to go back and check the STN EXPO Virtual.com website for all the sponsor presentations. We have a bunch of select presentations up there, as well as inside the trade show. For those of you that are in the Hop-In platform, you can still watch any of the content through, I think through midnight, if I'm correct. In the chat, we'll post up how long you can watch it. But if you want to catch anything you may have missed, again, reminder, Transportation Director Summit, March 29th and 30th, tdsummit.com. Also, our Green Bus Summit, April 20th, 21st, 22nd at greenbussummit.com. We appreciate you, School Transportation Nation, more than you know. You can subscribe, stream, or share this podcast. Check it out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, stnpodcast.com, wherever you listen to podcasts. To my co-host today, Mr. Ryan Gray, Taylor Hannon, thank you so much. You guys deserve a round of applause. Cheers. Here's a toast to everybody. Yay. Cocktails up. And we're out. Thank you. Cheers.
Oh, it's not even my hands. I just have a glass of water.
Cue the puppies.